Imagine the Roaring Twenties, not just with radio and jazz, but with a global interconnected network. In this timeline, the vacuum tube is perfected 50 years early. Mechanical computers, powered by steam and early electricity, begin to talk to one another across the Atlantic. This is the 1920 digital revolution. While the world dances to Charleston, a new web of copper wires is being spun across the globe, changing the course of human history forever. Most people believe the internet required the silicon chip. But the logic of the web was written in the 1800s. In our 1920 simulation, the Ethernet is born. Instead of sleek smartphones, people carry pocket telegraphs made of brass and mahogany. Information travels at the speed of light, but the hardware is heavy and loud. The core of this internet isn't a server farm in a cold room. It is a massive, hissing room of vacuum tubes and cooling fans. How does a 1920 society handle social media? Imagine the Flappergram, a real-time chat service where people share silent film clips and jazz records. The speed of information would have accelerated the Roaring Twenties into a frantic high-speed era. But there is a dark side. The Great Depression of 1929 is handled differently. With an early internet, a digital stock exchange allows for instant global communication, potentially preventing the total collapse. However, the lack of privacy in 1920 would mean a massive surveillance state. In a world without encryption, every ethergram is read by a government operator. Political movements, like the rise of the radical parties in Europe, would have used the internet to spread propaganda at a speed the world wasn't ready for. The information war begins decades before the Cold War, turning the 1930s into an era of global digital spying and mechanical hacking. The biggest shift occurs in 1939. World War II is not just a war of tanks and planes, but the first cyber war. Code breaking isn't done by hand at Bletchley Park. It is done by massive room-sized mechanical servers. Radar and sonar are integrated into a primitive Google Maps for generals. The nuclear age arrives by 1941 because of the speed of collaborative research. The war is shorter, but the weapons are far more precise and terrifying than our history remembers. By the time the war ends in 1943, the world is already entering the space age. In this timeline, the moon landing happens in 1952. The internet has acted as a time accelerator, pushing humanity forward by almost a century. We see the birth of AI not in a silicon chip, but in massive thinking machines made of millions of vacuum tubes. These machines manage the global economy, but they require the power of entire coal plants just to stay cool. By the time we reach 1960 in this timeline, humanity is a multiplanetary species. But at what cost? The environmental impact of a vacuum tube internet is massive. The world is a mix of high-tech digital systems and 19th century pollution. We are a product of our timing. If the internet came early, the Earth we know today would be unrecognizable, a planet of brass, steam, and billions of interconnected souls. This is the probable Earth of the early web. As the 1960s dawn in this timeline, we aren't seeing the birth of the computer. We are seeing the peak of the mechanical age. The world is a strange tapestry of Victorian elegance and digital chaos. While coal-fired plants belch smoke into the sky, massive mahogany logic engines calculate the path to Mars. We have traded our privacy and our environment for a century of accelerated progress. We live in a world that is faster, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous. This is not just history with wires, it is a different species of civilization. A probable Earth that chose the machine over the garden and the signal over the soul. History is a fragile thread. If you were a citizen of 1920 and suddenly held a pocket telegraph that could connect you to every soul on Earth, what is the first message you would broadcast to the world to change the future? Would you warn them of the coming wars? Or would you share a secret that humanity wasn't ready to hear? Write your one-paragraph broadcast from the past in the comments below. I will pin the most chilling response to the top of our timeline.